Hi, Magnetic Feminine ladies. How are you? I'm excited to do this Inner Work Wednesday video on masculine and feminine energy integration. And I'm going to be focusing on the masculine energy and the feminine energy within yourself, not your feminine energy in relation to other people's masculine energy, although it certainly does work. But the thing is when we are trying to integrate with someone outside of ourselves, first and foremost, that's when we end up abandoning ourselves. And that's when it doesn't really work. But when we focus on integrating our own energies within ourselves first, then we feel whole, we feel complete, and we feel open to what is available to us. So in this part of the video, because I'm going to be doing this video in two parts as always. So the first part is available here publicly in the Magnetic Femininity group. And we're going to be talking about what does it mean to have your energies integrated. I've been talking about this a lot lately. You might be wondering exactly what does that mean? I'm going to explain it. I'm going to be giving you some examples to make it very clear, to show you what integration and a lack of integration looks like. I'm going to talk about why we're unintegrated to begin with, and I'm going to talk about some signs that point to a lack of integration within yourself. And in this part 2 of the video, I'm going to be posting this inside the Magnetic Feminine Woman Academy membership. And in that part, we're going to be talking about why we're resisting the masculine, why we're resisting the feminine. And we're going to be giving you some, I hate to use the word strategies because it sounds so masculine, but I'm going to be guiding you on how to lead yourself in your masculine energy, how to let your masculine energy lead and provide, as well as how to let your feminine energy feel and experience to the fullest. So if you're watching this, you're absolutely loving it, and you're interested in knowing more about the Magnetic Feminine Woman Academy, then I would love to have you in there. Just simply send me a private message, or you can email me at love@magneticfemininity.com. And I'm happy to send you a virtual brochure with some information on the MFWA. So let's dive in to this Inner Work Wednesday, shall we? So first of all, what does it mean to have your energies integrated? It basically means that your energies work together as a team, that they trust each other, they have each other's back, they allow each other, they give each other what they need, and they're not at war with each other. They're not in competition. They're not trying to snuff the other out. They're not doubting and mistrusting each other. So I think the best place to start this workshop would be to give you some examples, some real life examples of how this kind of plays out within ourselves. And as I give you these examples, my hope is that you will start to notice that inner dialogue from a masculine feminine perspective as it's happening within yourself. And you'll be able to discern a little bit more, okay, these thoughts, like they're working together, they're integrated. Oh, and these thoughts, look at me, I'm at war with myself in this moment. I'm bumping up against, like my two sides are bumping up against each other. They're not working together. So the masculine energy's job, the primary job, is to initiate, to get up and get things started and create the environment for the feminine to thrive. That is the masculine energy's primary job. And the feminine energy's primary job is to allow his leadership, because she trusts him and she appreciates that he makes her life easier and feels more fulfilled when he takes the lead. So as I give these examples, I'm going to break them down. I'm going to read through the example first, and then I'm going to break it down. Now, I apologize if these conversations, the inner conversations between the masculine and the feminine, feel a little bit choppy because I'm specifying, you know what, actually, this is going to be the feminine and this is going to be the masculine. We'll do it this way. I wish I had like some puppets, something. Okay. So this is an example that I posted on my Facebook wall that many of you saw and really were like, oh, okay. Like they started to understand a little bit more about what this integration looks like. So here's the feminine. I feel sad and filled with doubt today. My heart feels heavy. I feel silly doing this puppet thing, but go with it. I'm sorry you're feeling funky today. Let's journal about it, shall we? You can tell me all about it. Okay, we'll journal. Journal, 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 journal. Journaling isn't working. No amount of reframes or expressing it, expressing what I feel is helping. I still feel sad. I just want to like take that whole pulled pork pizza out of the fridge and eat it in front of the TV. Okay, we can do that in a bit if you still want to, but let's take a walk first. A walk's not going to help. That's okay. You can be sad while we walk. Well, okay, this walk does help a bit, but I still can't seem to shake this funk. That's okay. I love you, even in your funk. Let's take a nice hot shower, wash our hair, shave our legs, listen to the latest Taylor Swift album. And, as my feminine allows him to lead, and like in the shower, she finds herself feeling so loved, so comforted, so held, so accepted. Now that we're showered and feeling better, let's put on a beautiful dress that requires no bra. Let's sit on the couch. Let's put on fuzzy socks and do some work. And the feminine is like, okay. She's happy. She feels cared for. She feels taken care of. Now, here's why this worked. There are a few reasons why this interaction was very successful in leading the feminine side out of her funk and, being able to eventually take productive action that I had planned to take. But the first reason that it worked is because the masculine created a safe space for her to honor her sadness without trying to fix it. So he wasn't offering the walk or the shower or whatever. He wasn't trying to fix her feelings. He was trying to show her love as she experienced her feelings. There's a huge difference. There was no attachment on the side of the masculine to whether or not she was able to shift out of those feelings as a result of what he did. For him, the reward was really just showing up for her, loving her, and creating a space where she felt loved and nurtured, even when she was feeling sad. So it also worked because the masculine was leading her to what he knew she needed in order to feel cared for and loved in her sadness, even if it didn't fix her feelings. So he led her to take a shower, to take a walk, because he knew that it might not fix her sadness, but at least she'll probably feel loved. And that's what unconditional love is all about, right? It also worked because my feminine trusted that my masculine would still love her, even if his efforts didn't succeed in fixing her sadness. She trusted that he was a safe enough space that she could feel sad. She didn't feel like she had to shift out of those feelings immediately. She allowed those feelings to be what they were because she trusted him to love her anyway. And lastly, this worked because my feminine expressed honestly what she was feeling. She didn't try to hide it. She didn't try to sugarcoat it, but she also didn't blame him for it. She also didn't blame her masculine for it. She just simply expressed without any blame or attachment to him doing anything about it. She's just, my heart feels heavy today. I feel sad. And of course, the masculine, he wants to love her and honor her. So that's when he stepped in. Now, how might this have looked if your masculine and feminine energy wasn't integrated? So we have the feminine and the masculine. So the feminine says, I feel sad and filled with doubt today. My heart feels heavy. Well, buck up, princess. We have work to do. Get over it. You don't have any reason to feel sad. What the hell are you feeling sad for? You have no right to feel sad. You don't have time to feel sad. Sound familiar? This is the masculine side telling her she's not allowed to feel her emotions. He's not only not validating them, but he's actively invalidating them, which is really, really harmful in a relationship, both with yourself as well as with other people. If a man treated you like that, I think we would agree that's emotional abuse. A man who like just cracks the whip anytime you have negative emotion, cracks the whip, tells you that you're not like, that you don't have time for this. It doesn't give you any space to honor yourself. Very, very unhealthy relationship dynamic, right? So here's another way that it might have played out with unintegrated energy. So the feminine expresses, okay, you know, I'm feeling sad today. And he says, okay, so let's journal about it. Let's go for a walk. Let's take a shower. And she's like, leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Stop trying to fix me. Bug off. Right? She's resisting his leadership in that case. So he's trying to offer support, and she mistrusts that support. She believes that there is an ulterior motive of him trying to fix her. He doesn't feel like a safe space to her for whatever reason, whether it's solely because of her own experiences with other male figures, but it also could be past experiences with him where he was trying to fix her. It's possible. It's certainly possible. But for whatever reason, she's not trusting his leadership. And that is a sign that there's a lack of integration as well. Let's see. And so if the feminine resisted, he's okay, you know, okay, I hear you. You want to eat the full pizza in front of the TV. Why don't we, like, we can do that later if you still want to. Why don't we take a walk first? And she's like, nope. And she rebels against him, goes over to the fridge, grabs the pizza, and goes and parks it in front of the TV for the rest of the day. Excuse me. That is a sign of unintegrated energy as well, because the masculine is trying to give her his leadership. He's trying to give her what the environment that she needs in order to thrive. And she's rebelling against it, again, because she mistrusts it. She doesn't allow his leadership. And this is a shadow behavior. My goodness. I swear, lately, every time I go to do videos, I could talk the rest of the day, no problem, with my kids, anywhere else. And when I sit down to do videos, my throat, for whatever reason, just so she rebels against him. She doesn't just, deny his leadership and say, no, I don't want to, but she actively does the opposite. She actively does what she knows is not in her highest good, out of a nobody's going to tell me what to do. This is little girl energy, child energy. No, I don't want to. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. And I'm making fun of it, and certainly not from a high horse, because I have done this. I did this most of my life. I allowed my inner pissy teenager to run the show for way too long. And I rebelled against really good advice from people who really had the best of intentions, but I didn't want to accept advice because of, reasons that made sense to me in the moment. But I rebelled against it because I was asserting myself. I needed to feel free in that moment or whatever. But so that's another sign. That's another way that this could have gone if the energy wasn't integrated. Okay, and one last way that I see here in this example how it would have worked is the feminine. She expresses her sadness, and he suggests the walk, the shower, all this stuff, and she does all the things. She follows his leadership, and it still doesn't help her feelings, but she pretends that it does. She pretends that she's all better when she's not, because she's afraid of disappointing him. She's afraid that she needs him to feel like he fixed this for whatever reason. She feels like she has to put on the smiley face and pretend to be okay, even when she's not. So there's a lack of trust there. There's not that open, safe space that she's not experiencing an open and safe space for her to have all of her emotions, no matter what they are, and allow them to stay as long as they need to. Because sometimes they just got to burn off by themselves, and it's not that big of a deal. Okay. So here's another example. I've got 4 of these examples. Example number 2. So we have the masculine and the feminine. So the masculine, okay, it's time to meditate. Thank you for always holding me to what's so good for me. It makes me feel so loved. I appreciate your leadership. And then the feminine, she downloads this like brilliant intuitive idea while she's meditating. She's like, masculine, I just had this idea that I really want to implement. It was something that would really boost our launch or like help some other area of our life. I've got this fantastic idea. And so the masculine's like, that's so great. Your downloads are always spot on. So I'll take care of it. Then he takes care of it. Okay, now that we did that, let's make a cup of tea, stare out the window for a while, let yourself relax a bit before we do the next thing. Oh, I love how you honor my need for rest and space. So I almost want to get like my daughter's Barbie and Ken dolls for this. So why this worked? Because the masculine initiated by saying it's time to meditate, because he knows that that's where it all begins. He knows that the first things first, he must lead his feminine to the environment where she thrives. Right? That's the masculine energy, leading yourself to the environment where you know that you thrive. So in this case, meditation. And the feminine, she allows herself to be led. She's not resisting. She's not like, no, I don't want to meditate. No, I have to do work. I don't have time to meditate. And this is the feminine diminishing her own importance. This is the feminine saying, no, we don't have time to meditate today. Or you could look at it also as the masculine diminishing the importance of the feminine and not being in divine masculine energy and leading her to, because the divine masculine energy will always begin with what will help her thrive right now, because he knows that the feminine is where we receive the downloads. This is where the real magic comes through. So the masculine is going to lead her ass to the meditation pillow or to go for a drive or a walk or whatever it is that she needs in order to feel at her most receptive and creative. That's what he does, because he knows that that's where the rubber hits the road. He knows that there's only so much action he can do. The divine masculine knows this. The shadow masculine is like work, 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 work. And the divine masculine side of you knows that there's only so much action you can take. So you better make that action count by allowing it to be guided by intuitive downloads. Because he wants his efforts to count, right? The divine masculine, he doesn't want to just take action for the sake of taking action. He wants his action to count. He wants it to mean something. He wants it to, actually move the needle forward. Otherwise, he starts to feel like his actions aren't helpful. He's going to start to feel very discouraged that nothing he does is actually making any difference. So why bother? Right? And this applies both with your inner masculine and outer masculine, in a partner, for example. But we're talking about your inner masculine right now. So when your masculine has taken so much action and it wasn't divinely guided action, and then you don't see the results that you want to see, or it feels like it's so much effort for so little return on your effort, that's when the masculine's like, what's the point? Remember, if you're in the MFWA, you remember the module where I talked about how men play for points. And that's because they're predominantly masculine energy. Masculine energy plays for points, which means that you play for points within yourself. Think about it for a moment. If every action you took, if you could clearly see that there was a reward for that action, even if it's just like a lesson, it doesn't always have to necessarily be like everything you touch turns to gold, but it can be, it can be. But if you clearly saw that even just the act of taking an aligned action always gets you the result you want or the lesson you need. If you could clearly see that, you wouldn't fear taking action. You wouldn't resist taking action. And also, on the flip side, you wouldn't take action just for the sake of taking action. You would carefully curate the action you take, especially if you are a feminine energy being, and especially if you happen to be, if you know your human design, the 3 designs that do not have a defined sacral center. So if you are a projector, a manifester, or a reflector, you have to be like especially deliberate about what actions you take, because if you're just taking action indiscriminately, you're going to end up exhausted, and you're not going to see the results that you want for it. And I mean that goes to an extent, of course, for generators and manifesting generators as well. Like, you still want to be very intentional about the actions you take, but with generators and MGs, you do have more physical energy available to you typically. So anyway, that's a little aside. Don't get too hung up on that. If you don't know what human design is, don't worry about it. So this is the masculine understanding that he wants his action to count. So the first action he takes is leading the feminine to where she's in her most creative state, because he knows that's how he benefits them the most. If he just dives into work or just doing, he's not serving them both at the highest level he possibly can, and he knows that. And the feminine, she doesn't resist it because she knows he's doing this so that she can thrive. And if they were unintegrated, this is where the masculine might say, okay, it's time to meditate. And the feminine would be just like, I don't want to. Oh, I don't want to. I just want to I want to, and not even just I want to feel sorry for myself in a like, oh, I just need to feel my feelings kind of way, but just no, I don't want to I want to avoid my. This is what she would do. She would avoid her feelings. She would do literally anything other than meditating, which means she might putter around the house as a way of avoiding herself. She might go scroll Facebook. She might watch TV. She might, like, whatever your coping mechanism of choice is that you typically use to avoid yourself. If your feminine energy is resisting your masculine energy, then she'll find some way to avoid being in that environment where she really thrives and feels creative. Now, if your masculine energy is unintegrated, then this is where your masculine energy might say, you don't have time for that, like sitting and meditating, that's useless, it's not going to lead to anything. You've got a whole to-do list, get to work. Cracking the whip. This is what the distorted masculine energy does. He cracks the whip on the feminine. He doesn't care about giving her an environment to thrive. He kind of plows over her and her needs. So so that's that example. Let me go through example number 3. So, oh my gosh, I feel so chaotic and because the house is a mess. And then the masculine says, I know you feel so much better when the house is tidy. What's one thing that would make you feel calm right now if it were done? Feminine says, okay, the dishes. If I could have that clean sink, oh, that would feel so much better. Okay, you got it. I'll take care of the dishes. I'm happy to do it because I know it helps you. Thank you, masculine. You take such good care of me. Okay, so in this case, the feminine energy is expressing that she feels chaotic within her. She's just, I feel overwhelmed. I feel chaotic. So she's expressing how she feels, again, without blame, without attachment to anybody doing anything, just expressing it. And the masculine is saying, okay, I want to help you. He's leading, he's taking initiative by saying, okay, how can I create an environment where my feminine will thrive? Because my feminine, when we need my feminine in that creative space. So, in order to have her in that creative space, what needs to happen? Okay, and she's saying that having the dishes done would make her feel so much more calm. Good, done. So that's when your masculine energy says, yeah, okay, when if it would make you feel that much better to have the dishes done, we're going to do that right now. We will do that for you because we know that you will thrive. And so a lot of the time, housework is such a sore spot for so many women because a lot of the time it's something that we feel great resentment over, and understandably so. I'm not trying to invalidate that, but the reasons why we do it can really change our energy around it. So for me, because I have two kids, and when they're here, there are days when the house is a goddamn mess. And I look around and I feel that chaos and that overwhelm. And I literally have this conversation with myself, and I'm like, okay, I feel so chaotic and overwhelmed right now. What's one thing that I could do? Okay, so maybe it's the dishes, or maybe it's having the living room floor cleaned up, or maybe it's making my bed. But I take it one thing at a time. My masculine takes the lead and does that one thing. And he does it not from a space of, oh my God, nobody helps me, nobody does this, or like I have to do everything around here. Not from that energy. Got a hair on me, feel it, and I don't see it. Not from that energy, but he does it from an energy of, this is what my creative side needs to feel calm. So this is why we're doing this. It's an act of love. Do you feel the energetic difference between like angrily cleaning up the house and nobody ever helps me, and doing it as an act of love to yourself? Doesn't that feel so much better? Because we're talking about things that need to be done anyway. And unless you have a housekeeper following you around 24/7, like you're going to have to deal with this to an extent. Even if you had like a weekly housekeeper, like there's still daily stuff that needs to be done, right? So why not do it as an act of self-love, as a way to keep your creative side nurtured and open, rather than doing it from a space of like, oh God damn it, nobody ever helps me. There's such a huge energetic difference. Okay. So let's go through this last example here. So the masculine says, I'd like to figure out a system to get our finances in order. And the feminine says, systems make me feel so restricted and controlled. And the masculine says, I'm so sorry. Why does it make you feel that way? He's curious, see? Because I want to be able to do whatever I feel like with my money. And I feel resentful of not being able to. Wow, okay. I understand that. That's understandable. So how do you want to feel with money? Oh, I want to feel free and excited and spontaneous. That would feel so amazing. Okay, I want to create that for you. I'd love to help you feel that way. So what if I came up with a system that will actually help you feel those things in a bigger way than you can feel them right now with instant gratification? And she's like, whoop, that sounds exciting. I can't wait to hear what you come up with. You lead, I'll follow. So she feels heard. So for me, it took me a very long time in my life to come to terms with the value of having some sort of systems and structure in my finances. It took me a long time to come to terms with this because, I had some life experiences with money that made me feel very resentful of anybody telling me what to do with money. So the idea of systems and budgets and things like that, that made me just feel like I was in a straitjacket. and that I was at the mercy of someone else telling me what to do with my money. And I hated that. And I rebelled against it in such a huge way. So the reason why this example works, number one, because the feminine expressed. She expressed how she felt. So she said, the systems make me feel so restricted and controlled. She said, I want to be able to do whatever I want with money, and I feel resentful when I can't do that. So she expressed very honestly how she felt with, again, no blame, no attachment, just simple expression. And the masculine, instead of saying, well, buck up, princess, get over it, because your finances are a mess or whatever, he's not dismissing her concerns. He's hearing her. And he's saying, okay, you want to feel free and spontaneous and excited about money? Okay. Well, right now you get a little hit of that with instant gratification. What if I could create that for you in such a massive, large scale way if you allow me to take the reins here? Because what really happens, I mean, I used to be a money mindset coach, so I talked about this a lot more in the past, but when we're afraid of systems and structure and budgets and things like that with money, what we're really saying to ourselves is, I don't want anyone telling me what to do with my money. And so I'm going to rely on instant gratification, and nobody's going to tell me what to do. And we end up rebelling against what's actually in our highest good, because we perceive systems as being told what to do. But when we perceive systems as the vehicle for getting what we want in a much bigger way, because right now we get, with money, for example, if you're just you're spending your money willy-nilly, you're not taking care of it at all, you're getting that little hit of instant gratification, the freedom of being able to buy just whatever, just being able to buy something just because you feel like it and not considering how it's going to make you feel later. There is a certain instant hit of freedom or instant gratification that comes with that. But those feelings that you want to feel, what if you could feel them 100 times bigger using the help of the masculine energy systems, right? So when you see systems as something that you partner with, that's actually going to give you what you want in a much bigger way, and also you address the need for instant gratification as a shadow behavior, like we talked about in the shadow workshop, address it as a shadow behavior, and you're going to see such a difference in your relationship to systems and structure in your finances. So this worked because she expressed, he heard her, he explained, he reframed systems for her and saying, this isn't, I understand why you feel controlled and resentful when it comes to systems. What if I could create something for you that's actually designed to help you feel what you want to feel, but in a much bigger way than you can feel right now with instant gratification? And then she trusts that. She allows his leadership. She's like, okay, you lead, I will follow. So those are some examples of what integration and a lack of integration look like. So why are we so unintegrated to begin with? Why is this it should be the most natural thing in the world, and yet it's not? So the main reason we're so unintegrated to begin with is because we're taught this false sense of duality, where we have strong and weak, right and wrong, broken and fixed, good and bad. There's so much separation in that. And this version of duality that we're taught has caused us to resist things in us that we have deemed weak or wrong or broken or bad, rather than thinking in terms of what serves me and what doesn't. What's compatible with where I'm going and what's not. This whole good and bad, broken and fixed, strong, weak thing, that has us labeling things in a way that's actually to our detriment. So when we don't feel like doing something, we make ourselves wrong and say no, just do it. Because we deem that side of us who doesn't feel like doing something. We're like, you're wrong, you're lazy, you're a procrastinator. We label it, rather than saying to the feminine, Okay, if we know this would serve our highest good, what do you need right now? What's stopping you from getting on board with this? When you ask the feminine side what she needs, why she's resisting the leadership, then you get answers, and you can work with those answers, but you can't work with it if you're just being a drill sergeant to the feminine and saying, just do it, get off your ass, blah, 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 right? It doesn't work. So when we act impulsively or make a mistake, on the flip side, when we act impulsively or make a mistake, we blame the masculine side of us for screwing up, and we don't trust him anymore. And, there's also the fact that the patriarchy has taught us to suppress our feminine side. We have been taught to suppress our emotions. We've been taught to suppress our intuition. And when we do that, we stop trusting the masculine side. So the patriarchy, they thought in suppressing the feminine, yay, masculine will dominate. But it actually hurts the masculine just as much as it hurts the feminine, because in order for masculine and feminine energy to work together, both within ourselves and with each other, you need to be able to work in partnership. And you can't work in partnership when one is trying to dominate the other. It doesn't work. You can't be at war with yourself. There can't be one that's trying to win over the other. There has to be trust and partnership. So what ends up happening when the feminine feels repressed is she ends up resenting and mistrusting the masculine side, and she doesn't willingly allow him to lead her to her highest good because she doesn't trust that he has her highest good at heart. So an analogy that I really, really love when it comes to all of this, if you think about a flower in a garden, and actually this has been coming up so often in my readings lately. So many, this card keeps coming up in many different readings. Trying to find it. There it is. So we have this card. I don't know if you can see. It's the gardener. So with this card, I really love the interpretation that comes to me with this card is, especially as it relates to your inner masculine and feminine energies, a flower blooms effortlessly when it's in the right environment. When you plant a flower, you plant a seed or a bulb in the ground, you know that if you give it the soil that it needs, it gets the water and the light that it needs and the temperature that it needs. If it has all of those things, that flower will just bloom. It doesn't have to try to bloom. It just does, because and if it's not blooming, then we don't get mad at the flower. We look at, okay, what environment have we created for this flower? What is it about this environment that is not conducive to this flower blooming? So when the environment is created for the feminine, she just blooms. She doesn't try, she just does. So procrastination, this is the feminine not trusting the masculine to get it right in a way that doesn't challenge her emotions. Actually, okay, I'll go through all those examples in a minute. Let me finish this analogy. So when we give our feminine side the environment that she needs to feel nurtured, creative, safe, then she receives the divine downloads that she needs to give to the masculine, and he takes action. And he takes action, and then he says, okay, we've taken action on this thing. Let me take care of you again. And so then he points his efforts back to his feminine side. And then your feminine side is the one who leans back and experiences and feels and honors herself. And it's just this constant dance between the two. And even like while your masculine is taking action, your feminine is still along for the ride. She's experiencing. And there are going to be times when you find yourself more in your head, in your masculine energy. And it's okay if that happens, but remind yourself, even when you're taking action in masculine energy, you can still check in with your body. You can still notice how it feels. Notice your human body's experience. So, um, if you are not naturally blooming in your life in a way that feels very effortless, the thing to look at is your environment. What do you need in order to feel your most nurtured and creative? When you feel nurtured and creative, you're going to grow. When you feel nurtured and creative, taking the action necessary to move your life forward is effortless. It's not hard. It's only when we're not feeling nurtured, creative, loved, validated within ourselves, when we don't have that environment created for us in our life. Like, I know that part of my environment, I'll give you some examples so that you can riff off of this and figure out what works for you. But for me, I know I need meditation. That, like, if I don't meditate and journal every day, I feel edgy. I feel I'm snappier with my kids. I'm more irritable. And I know that my meditation and journaling practice has a direct impact on who I'm being with them and with everybody else, but they're my biggest triggers. So um, when I take care of myself and create that environment every day for myself, I'm able to be the mom that I want to be. I'm able to have that openness, and that I'm able to be emotionally available to them. I'm able to um, really create the relationship I desire with them, and things just flow so much more smoothly. And another thing that I've realized that I need is I love taking care of myself physically. Like, I like to curl my hair, do my makeup every day. That makes me feel really good. Now, if that's not something that makes any difference for you, then whatever. For me, I've noticed that when I wake up and this is the first thing that I do, it's like it feels like such a nice way to wake up my creativity, to feel ready for the day. Um, what else makes some other examples might be a certain level of exercise, eating well. I know that when I eat certain things, I do not feel inspired and creative. I do not feel, I don't feel my best. I'm hunched over and, oh, with stomach pains. And, I talk a lot about how fried chicken is one of those foods that I just can't eat. I love it. I can't eat it though. It makes me feel horrible. And every time I try to eat some and I'm just like, oh, maybe just one piece, I know that it's not conducive to the environment that I want to create for myself. So I just don't really eat it anymore. Um, but could you also, like, just on that note, do you feel the difference between me saying I'm not allowed to have fried chicken versus me saying I can have it if I want it, but I know that I'm going to feel awful after, so that's why I don't choose it. There's a huge difference. I don't feel deprived of it. I'm not like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I could have some." I don't I don't feel that way at all. Occasionally, I try my luck and I pay the consequences after, and I'm reminded why I don't eat that. So, another thing that really makes me feel nurtured and creative is having a conversation, with my cards every day. I mean, I like to just pull a few cards for the day. I like to journal on it, and I like to look back at my cards from the day before, because I take pictures every day. So I look back at the cards from the day before, look at how those energies played out. It makes me a better tarot reader for sure. But those are some things that really make me feel so creative. But meditation and journaling are absolutely the number one non-negotiables. Those ones I do every day because they make the biggest difference. Okay, so some signs that you have unintegrated energy. Procrastination. So, like I said, that's the feminine doesn't trust the masculine to do the action and get it right in a way that doesn't challenge her emotions. Of she's afraid he's going to do it and it's going to make her feel a certain way. He's going to do it and he's going to fail, and then she's going to have to feel like a failure. She's afraid that her emotions will be challenged. And Part of the reason she's probably afraid is because that safe space hasn't been created in yourself to process your emotions. Your feminine side is not going to be afraid of experiencing emotions when the safe space has been created. Another one is not honoring your word. So, this is the feminine side resisting masculine accountability. Lack of boundaries. This is a big one. This is the feminine is too afraid of not being liked. And she doesn't let the masculine protect her energy because she's afraid. No, if I let the masculine protect my energy, then they're not going to like me and I need to be liked. Otherwise, I'm unsafe. Otherwise, I'll be alone, whatever the fear is. Putting up walls is another one. And this is the feminine not trusting the masculine boundaries. So she shuts down her emotions and her light. So walls are what happen when you have crappy boundaries. Walls are, I don't trust my masculine energy boundaries, or I don't trust the boundaries around my being. So I'm going to shut down my light. I'm going to make sure that nobody sees me, going to make sure that nobody notices me, or else I'm going to put on a resting bitch face and like just repel everything so that I don't have to, so that I get to feel safe. Ignoring your intuition. And this is the masculine energy mistrusting anything that's not able to be proven or rationalized. Dismissing your emotions. So the masculine seeing emotions as weak or useless. Plowing through when you need rest and replenishment. This is the masculine dismissing the feminine's needs, not hearing her, not honoring her, and kind of cracking the whip. And so you can go back to these, if you want to replay the video, you can go back and see how these things actually played out and look for how they play out in your life as well so that you can become more aware of it. Now, one thing that I noticed is that the divine feminine had to rise in the collective, and she had to be healed and embodied in the collective before the divine masculine, because as you can see, the feelings of the feminine are first and foremost what will influence your actions. Our actions are driven by emotion. So if you're taking action, it's emotionally driven. If you're not taking action, it's emotionally driven. So this is why the feminine needs to be healed and embodied first because she won't let the masculine lead otherwise. If she's too afraid of her emotions and that emotional safe space is not created within her, she's not going to let the masculine lead. She's going to question his every move. She's not going to trust him. She's going to resist everything. This is why some of you, and this happened to me a while back when I was first learning about feminine energy, and I really went all in on learning about feminine energy. And what I found was things just kind of crumbled around me at first because I was so in my feminine energy that it was like the pendulum swung so far in that direction that I wasn't focused on my masculine energy at all. And I let so many things fall by the wayside because I was so focused on the feeling and the experience. And what the piece that was missing was the masculine integration, where it's like, okay, my feminine, she's all about the feelings and the experience and the beauty and all that. But we also need the masculine side, which is, okay, let me lead you to where you're going to really thrive. Let me lead you to your most creative space. This is the masculine leadership, right? So everything we do that's unintegrated or not in our highest good is for the express purpose of avoiding an uncomfortable emotion. So in order for the divine masculine to rise, we feminines as a collective needed to learn how to let the masculine energy lead, because we can't lead ourselves to greatness if we have no idea how to feel and express our emotions. We'll be trying to protect ourselves emotionally at every turn. We won't have that inner trust and bond within ourselves. And this is why the feminine energy is often integrated first. Then the masculine energy can be integrated. And this is also why trying to take action without understanding emotional intelligence and feminine energy can be very difficult and draining. because our feminine side resists the action every step of the way. And what's more, we're often not even stopping to listen to her objections. We're just saying, oh, like, stop resisting, feminine. Don't be lazy. Stop procrastinating. Not even stopping to ask her, but what's wrong? What do you need? Just plowing over her. Okay, so that concludes this part of the video here for the magnetic or femininity group. I'm going to head into the Magnetic Feminine Woman Academy section of this video, where we're going to talk about what is it we're resisting in the masculine and the feminine. We're going to look at how to let your masculine side lead and provide, and how to let your feminine feel and experience and receive her intuition and trust it. So for those of you who are in the Magnetic Feminine Woman Academy, I will see you over there. And for those of you who are not, who would like to be, send me a message and I can get you hooked up with that ASAP. And for those of you who will not be joining me, thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope this was so helpful for you, and I will see you soon.